Hey everybody, Brian here. This video is a bit different as we're collabing with Neckbeardia to make this possible, with part 1 being on their channel, link in the description, and with part 2 being right here. That said, hello to all of our fans on Mr. Rippers, and a big welcome to all of you guys and gals coming from Neckbeardia's place too. Glad you guys could all make it, and hopefully you enjoy the content. Without further delay, let's get right into it. Ozzmarr, the broliest Paladin barbarian ever. Part 2. I'd love to know where the campaign went after that. Speak my name and I shall be summoned. Ozzmarr's chronicler here, the cleric. This is going to be a long one, so hold on to your dicks. After the death of tyrants, the game wound down a bit. I say a bit because there was never the slaying of another god. Well, there was sort of, but I'll get to that soon. We each got a fancy new item. Ozzmarr got the Fire of the Gods, which was a gem that allowed him to show anyone at any time his memories, and that burned with righteous fury, acting as a holy subtype fire attack, minus Slashwill. Blackguard got a dagger called the Tear of Faith. That was the tear of a dying god, which was a powerful, powerful thing, and basically had the power, fuck you. Okay, one time ever, where she could activate it and it would basically act as a plot device to let her do whatever she fancied for a while before it ran out of juice. Anyway, after completing the task at hand, with the death of the king, Ozzmarr turned his eyes northward into the Forsaken Lands. A bit of backstory here. Everything beyond a certain point known as the Ice Wall was part of a region known as the Forsaken Lands, where no civilization had ever managed to take root. Like most stereotypical frozen norths. It was almost inhospitable to civilized life, filled with barbarians, and few people who went over the wall and came back. It was also Ozzmarr's original homeland, a place he couldn't even remember, but he didn't know this, and it's not important. Anyway, we traveled north past the ice wall, past the dead glaciers, through the tribal hunting grounds of the orcs, and the Neanderthal, bringing civilization as we did. Or trying to each time we took a step forwards. There was a step back, as if the land itself refused to be tamed by mere mortal hands. While we're there, we learn of a god. The only god in the area. The northernmost wind. A cruel, chaotic, evil god that refuses to let its domain become tamed and kills anything, man or beast, that dares try to carve its land to its will. So, Ozzmarr turns north once more. And we kept on going, Ozzmarr leading the way, through mountain, through dale, over a frozen sea, complete with giant serpents and a frozen undead dragon. Because this place is like hell with ice skates, and our GM has a hard-on for awesome set pieces. By this point, we learn even more of the northernmost wind. It's the creature that fuels the cold of this place, and it's practically older than time itself. An ancient monster so old that its realm is part of every map ever created. The ice wall isn't the edge of its domain, it's the edge of its prison. And all within are its toys to keep it distracted. Ozzmarr wishes to see these people free. My cleric, by this point, has decided to start focusing on fire-themed attacks to take advantage of the cold, and most of the group had done the same. Now, the Blackguard is suffering badly from the cold because she was a half-elf, spindly little thing, and because plate mail plus heavy furs were too much for her. Needless to say, by the time we reached the mountains, we were a different party to when we entered. This wasn't civilized lands. This was over the edge of the map. And to become a barbarian was the only way to face it. Ozzmarr by this point has gone from nearly 100% paladin to nearly 100% barbarian in looks. But under the furs and bone club, after his original was surrendered by a Neanderthal chieftain, he is still the Paladin we know and love. Anyway, between us, we managed to get further north than any civilized being had ever gone before, and we meet an entire new race that had managed to survive up here. They don't even have a name. They're basically humans with 100% frost resistance and are hard as fuck. We meet them when a group of them ambush us by jumping out from about 10 foot of snow. Anyway, we manage to defeat them, and Ozzmarr demands to be brought to their chieftain. We are, Turns out these men mix with frost giants, as the leader is the largest frost giant we've ever seen. The guy is sitting on a throne carved at the foot of a mountain that goes above the clouds. He's taller than most trees and appears to be wearing leather armor that must have required an entire small herd of entourage to make. He's also so damn old that he can't even stand, and so wise that his beard has to be rolled up and kept in a basket next to him.
"Why have you come?"
the ancient behemoth asks in a voice like the creaking wind.
"I am Ozzmarr, warrior of the south and bane of tyrants. I have come to bring peace to this land." "There's no peace in the northern lands. Go home to your caves and ice huts. However far south they are, young warrior. Far south they are, young warrior. Live long and happy, knowing that we of the north live and die so that you may have peace from the god of ice and sorrow. Each year he comes to face me, and each year, for aeons, I have drawn equal with him. And now I am old, and he is still young, and I lose a little more each day, and the world grows a little darker. Go home, live, love, make merry, for most the world is cold but free."
At which point Ozzmarr's character realizes two things. That the frost giant has never seen the south as far as he knows, the frost touched the whole world, and that he uses detect good, and the frost giant glows like a beacon, a paladin beacon, the first paladin ever who follows no god, one who probably birthed the first god of hope, using nothing but his actions. So old that he was forgotten before time began. Ozzmarr looks at this ancient warrior and kneels before him, paying respect to the founder of what would one day become the ideals that birthed the god that his order followed. And then stands and says,
"I am Ozzmarr, slayer of tyrants, warrior for all free people, and so long as any are bound by chains, I will not go home. You and your people are bound to this place by duty. I will help you fulfill that duty."
And he holds out the stone and touches the tired, worn, old hero of a giant who has nothing to live for and has slowly given up on existence over the years, thinking that all his efforts have come to nothing. All his good deeds simply ash in the wind. Who sees that Ozzmarr has done what the ideals that the giant have created have done, what the world of the South, the world he has never seen, are like. Rich and vibrant and free and full of life. And the ancient creature weeps, his tears melting the frost of his beard as he sees the beauty of what he has fought for. And even if he cannot fight anymore, he has seen it, and it was worth it. Now, I think at this point the GM expected Ozzmarr to take the giant's place and title as the first paladin and take on the beast of the north. What happened was far more interesting, as the blackguard steps forward and says, "Ozzmarr, could I show him something?" Ozzmarr looks at her and says he isn't sure it works like that, but she's willing to try anyway. I'm not sure what the old giant saw in her, maybe that she wished to one day be with Ozzmarr, or that if he took the giant's place, he would never be with her, or all she saw in Ozzmarr, or all that was good in her now. But he nodded and looked to Ozzmarr.
"This seat is not yours to fill,"
he rumbled. Ozzmarr's silent, then looks up.
"Then I will slay it with the hands of a man."
The GM looks at him and out of character says, "Well, that's all very well and badass, but how do you intend to kill a physical god? I mean, you killed one before, but this is in an entirely different league. You sure you want to do this? It'll probably be a PK. I know, but Ozzmarr would do it. All right. Ozzmarr looks back to the others and says,
Long ago, I bound you in chains to me. Since then, we have been so much, done so much, changed so much. This is my fight, as a paladin.
And the others are silent for a moment, and the blackguard steps forward and says, It's my fight too, then. Girl secretly took levels in Paladin, starting after she rose from being a blackguard. This is Ozmar's fetish, apparently, as he gives a "damn girl" look, and they fist bump as a couple. I step forward. I was never chained to you, and I think all of us can agree that we will follow you. So, tough. Ozzmarr grins, a big, toothy half-orc grin.
Then we begin the climb at dawn.
GM is like, you do realize that this just means it'll probably be a TPK instead. Monk replies, We are not leave his side. Dawn, next day. We're all freezing our asses off, and the giant has managed to unstick himself from his throne, and has acquired a set of plate mail, and a sword so large that you could break it down for smaller swords for an entire unit of men. His men see him get up, and are all like, What's going on here? And the ranger stands atop his throne, taking a minute or so to climb up, and gives an incredible speech. I can't remember the whole details, it was like 5-6 minutes. On Ozzmarr, on good, justice, freedom, the warmth of a newborn baby, hope, love, and all the things in the world worth fighting for. And the entire tribe looks on, confused as fuck. And one steps forward and says, So, we should come help you then?
Gods no. You've all got to live through this. I was just explaining what Ozzmarr is doing for you, and what things will be like afterwards, so you have something to look forward to when we get back.
And then he runs after the rest of us. Anyway, a lot of trial and tribulation later, on Frost-Touched Mountain, as we came to know it, because the druid was shit at naming things, we arrive at the top, above the clouds. The GM describes this huge mead hall, carved from bones, sitting atop the mountain peak. So cold at the top that ice doesn't even form, so it's a clear day. So, we're cautious and we enter. Inside we find an entire hall of dead titans, of various kinds. Their skeletons slumped over their preserved tables, the entire place lit with torches. And in the throne at the head of the hall sits a creature of pure ice, a woman carved from snow. A bit of exposition later, we find out that the creature is a female frost giant who was the first evil creature in the world, and used to be the wife of the Paladin giant beforehand, and who ended an entire age when she murdered the primordial giants. We kinda hang back for a bit because he obviously doesn't have the heart to really fight her, and that's probably why she's still alive. And then the big twist comes out. Because he loves her, he'll hold her back, but he can't bring himself to end her. The compassion and love of a paladin that drives him to protect all won't let him kill his own wife, because he knows she's still good in there, somewhere. Despite her entire reason for falling being that she felt she wasn't her husband's equal, due to some throne problem, fucked if I remember. But it was a really petty reason that snowballed into the source of all evil in the world, Pandora's box style, and it ended with her killing their entire race, the Titan giants, apart from the two of them. Then trying to take over the world because if she couldn't be warm and happy in bed with her hubby, no one could, and the entire world should suffer because it made her moist. Ozzmarr steps forward before the giant, and doesn't bother with speeches. He just powers up and charges, with a screaming animal bellow of pure hatred and disgust for the person, no, the monster before him. The fight lasts 3 rounds before Ozzmarr is on -3 HP, but has managed to cut open her chest and stuff the red gem into her heart, thinking that it would change her nature. She ragdolls him across the room, and the fire of the gods, an item that literally represents all that is good and compassionate and virtuous about the world, shatters in her chest. The GM admits at this point that he's not sure we can win. He was expecting the PCs to accept the dying paladin's power and each become a deity. We're strong, we're not god strong. Then the Blackguard steps forward as the heartless ice woman mocks Ozzmarr, and she looks to the giant and says, "I was once a woman like that before Ozzmarr offered me kindness, and all the kindness in the world could not change her back. She is not the woman you love anymore, as I am not the woman Ozzmarr despised," and offers him the dagger, while grabbing some of the shards of the now broken gem in his hand for good measure. He hesitates and looks to her, then takes it, and it shatters. When the glow diminishes, he is young again, for an ageless being. Revived by the power of the dead god, returned to his old vim and vigor both internally and externally by the actions of the party. Hey, I never said it was an original or non-cliché story our GM ran. It had tyrant sorcerer kings, remember? He steps up, and so does she. She brings her ice sword down. He parries and he grabs her and kisses her one last time, while using his own power to neutralize hers. Pure good, pure evil. Total, mutual annihilation. If they were in equal amounts, however, sadly, he's not quite as good as she is a raging monster. So, she becomes mortal as he dies in her arms. And we've all moved to protect Ozzmarr. Ozzmarr's player was totally happy to step down and let everyone else have the epic finish, since, as he put it, I've already had 4 guys nail the bitch. I like that. And the Blackguard steps the fuck up, sword in hand. The GM starts a whole, "We can rule together, I've seen the evil in your heart" speech, but the PC slaps her as soon as she says, "I know the evil in your heart," and responds angrily, "You chose yourself over the man you loved because you wanted power and felt like you weren't his equal. You aren't even fit to call yourself evil. You're just a selfish bitch." That day, the origins and frozen heart of all evil in the world died. The Blackguard and Ozzmarr's holy symbols became blank, as the god of honor himself, who had never been able to end this monster, and had sort of not talked about the horrors of the North, shamefacedly stepped down, unable to call himself their master. The first Paladin is now a god, in setting, and Ozzmarr and the Blackguard are both minor living deities, in his pantheon amongst the northern tribes, while the northernmost wind, as an ideal, no longer as a person, is part of the dark pantheon. The GM ruled that after we broke her, the feedback was so powerful that it shattered the snow enchantment of the north. There's still evil in the world, as always, but the oldest evil in the world ended at our hands that day. Afterwards, Ozzmarr led the ice tribes south as the water levels across the world rose. A bit inconvenient for the settings version of Venice, but fuck 'em. Their god will look after them, and they're a bunch of lawful neutral dicks anyway. And created a place for them to live, in the deep mountains, where a new civilization is rising. We've all agreed the next game we're doing in this universe, we're all taking members of the ice tribes, who are trying to grow accustomed to this new world of warmth, not being eaten by dire ice wolves and so forth, and of course dealing with the after effects as old evils rise once more, awoken by the shock of their great-great-grand evil mother being shanked. But we can deal with it. Also, in the epilogue, Ozzmarr dicked the Blackguard. His master shotgun wetting him, and they finally had a sprog. But Ozzmarr's to play him, saying he didn't want the GM to make any exceptions for him, and he'd rather make a whole new carry so that Ozzmarr can have his rest and you guys can be the big-ass heroes next time, while I hang back. Same as he said he'd be a minor deity in the first Paladin's pantheon, not the other way around, despite the entire group's protests, because that'd be too much of a circle jerk for him. After all, as he put it, Ozzmarr was just some random paladin who believed good, did good, and fought for good. Nothing special. That's what paladins are, right? Because he's a bro like that, and because he has no fucking sense of perspective. Hey guys and gals, Brian again. That was one hell of a story, eh? I pulled a lot of voice acting out of my ass for you newbies from Neckbeardia as a way to give you a very warm welcome, and we're thanking you for showing up here too, so we hope you really liked it. That said, if you did like the video, give us a sub and a thumbs up. It always helps. And if not, a thumbs down will do, as well as a comment telling us what we could improve upon. And again, if you have any stories you'd like to share, make sure to leave them in a comment down below too, because you never know, we might just read one or two of them live. Can't hurt to try. Anyway, hope you guys have a great day. Love you to pieces, all of our fans from Neckbeardia and from Ripper's channel too. Have a good one, everyone.